Donald Trump just canceled the signing of a bipartisan housing bill over a personal tantrum. He's literally holding affordable housing for millions of Americans hostage because he can't rig the next election his way. From bumbling foreign policy to making bizarre excuses for his own failures, the MAGA chaos engine is in full panic mode. Today, we're exposing the plan to weaponize the DOJ against journalists and breaking down the progressive sweep in New York City. To help us sort through the wreckage, one of the sharpest voices for democracy on the internet is here with us today. She is a brilliant political commentator, a fierce voice for democracy, and one of the sharpest minds on social media. She is the co-founder of the Siren Network. She's the co-host with the co-most of the JoJo and BDD show and the publisher of the Substack, Are You Effing Kidding Me? The one and only Joanne Carducci, a.k.a. JoJo from Jerz is here. So we got some stuff to get into today. I hope you're ready to get into it because I am. Let's get defiant. Incredible person, incredible human being.
Yes,
famous. Yes. JoJo.
Hi. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. I'm outside on my deck, so I apologize for the light. It's kind of like giving me the Spielberg effect behind me. Yeah.
Yeah, Spielberg loves his lens flares and all that good stuff. Well, it's a lovely view. Thank you for sharing it with us. And thank you for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I really always love talking to you. I get to talk to you tomorrow as well, which is our usual time slot. Yes, I'm filling in for our friend Tara, who had hopefully got some nice weather at the beach today. So,
that's nice, very nice. Okay, so we do have some stuff to cover, and let me see if I can get this up here. No, I lost you. Hang on. Okay, so
I look like I'm coming out of the pool.
We have on tap for today. We have Trump's total collapse is the title slide of the show. We're going to cover the fiasco that is the reflecting pool. We're going to touch on his bumbling of the Iran war and the so-called deal that is not a deal. The surrender that is not unconditional. The housing bill that he was supposed to sign today, but that thing. Let's see. BDD's voice is low and muffled. Joe, can you hear me? Okay.
I can, yeah.
Because the audience is saying my voice is low and muffled. I'll try to speak more directly into the mic. Let's see if that works. You guys, let me know in the audience.
I can definitely hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, and aside from that, Trump is weaponing the DOJ against journalists. You know, that's one of the precursors to fascism. We are already in full-on fascism. And yeah, so let's go ahead and just jump right on in. Oh, wait, why did I put that away? Hold on. If this is your first time watching the show, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button, please. And thank you very much. Yeah. So first up, let's get into this this reflecting pool situation. As you know, Donald Trump handed out a no bid contract to what was that Batman villain dude. And the name of the company was Green Water Services, of course.
Yeah.
It could be more on the nose than that. And now he wants to blame his grift on vandals.
Yeah.
What the hell? What is going on here with this? Why is he blaming this on vandals?
Well, if he wants to blame it on vandals, he should start with his own reflection in the mirror, or he can look in the reflecting pool if it's not murky from all the algae that they've caused now that it's so dark on the bottom and predictably prone to algae. He is the vandal. He did this. Okay, yes, the reflecting pool's always been prone to algae. It's very shallow. It has an antiquated, filtration system, et cetera, et cetera. It's in DC in the summer. It's near the Potomac. It's been prone to algae its entire existence. Barack Obama tried to address it. Other presidents have tried to address it. Donald Trump's amazing genius here. The guy who's bankrupted everything from casinos to water to steaks to board games to airlines. It goes on and on and on. Was to give a no bid contract, like you said. One he said originally was going to be 1 million, then it was going to be 2 million, then all of a sudden it was 10 million, and then it ballooned to $16 million to some green water services thing to put in this America Blue liner, and it was supposed to be indestructible. It's supposed to last 50 years. He actually explicitly said you could take a knife to this. Not that I wanted to give anybody any ideas, but you could take a knife to it and you couldn't cut through it. And now that it went as predictably as everyone expected it would, every expert, because of the fact that in large part, some people are speculating because he drove over it with the beast and an entire armada of cars, but also when the algae started blooming, predictably, because that's what the sun and science said it would do, they dumped hydrogen peroxide into the reflecting pool. And hydrogen peroxide, it interacts with things in a certain way. I'm sure you've seen it on your skin. There's a reason the bottles don't let light in. So they poured it into the pool that exacerbated the liner peeling. And now Donald Trump, because he's a fucking failure, wants us to believe this is the craziest thing. He wants us to believe that vandals were able to somehow pass by, usurp security, National Guard troops, police, and cut a 350 foot, he just said it again today, a 350 foot long gash. Friends, 350 feet is longer than a football field, okay? He said they went straight across. But on top of that, somehow, again, inexplicably, they dumped fertilizer in it, which is how the algae got there. Because we all know that somebody in DC is just walking around the reflecting pool with a knife big enough to cut a 350-foot gash in the pool while simultaneously dumping fertilizer in it, and nobody noticed. Nobody noticed.
You know what's funny is that, like, I have gone over this story over and over, but just to hear you recap it like that, it really pumps up the entire absurdity of it. I do have that clip of him talking about. Let me just play this real quick.
Think of that. You work so hard, you get it open way ahead of July 4th. July 4th was the key. And then somebody's in there with a knife cutting it and ripping the floor out. It's terrible. But the 350-foot gash in the side, it's a terrible thing.
So, I mean, you said a football field, right? Some people might not have been on a football field, but I can tell you just 350 feet is a long, like, have you ever tried to cut wrapping paper at Christmas and keep it a straight line?
Seriously.
Right? So,
Seriously.
I'm saying that's just wrapping paper. I'm not talking about 350. I'm talking about 2 feet. 2 feet. And it is hard as hell to keep that in a straight line. He wants to talk about going through water, water that's full of hydrogen peroxide, and cut a straight damn line, and then they just left it, just left flapping. I'm sorry, I've seen those pieces. Those pieces are not straight lines. First of all, those pieces are all jaggedy, weird shapes. You know that. What kind of X-Acto knife do you have that cuts shapes like all raggedy like that? Come on. What
It's the kind of X-Acto knife you get with a healthcare plan that's coming in 2 weeks. That's the kind of X-Acto knife. It's a magical unicorn alien species X-Acto knife from up on high, and it was brought here, by some divinity. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd. It's beyond absurd. And also, like, the fact that they're arresting people for touching that blue paint, which is just ridiculous in and of itself. They're arresting old people for touching the paint. They're arresting them for that. But he has pardoned all of the people who put their hands and weapons and chemicals and feces all over our Capitol on January 6th, all over our Capitol police officers. They tried to get their hands on our elected officials. They destroyed our property. They tried to hang the vice president. All of that gets a pardon. But if you dare touch something that embarrasses him, oh, no, that's a crime. You need to go to jail. I mean, it's just absurd. And by the way, you can touch kids apparently, but you can't touch some pool paint. That's a red line.
Yeah, that is probably, I do have a thing of that. That is probably one of the most obscene aspects of this whole thing, is that he's making such a big deal, about touching the paint. There are actually members of the National Guard. I don't know if you saw video clips, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't have a clip, but there are clips on the internet of National Guardsmen going up to small children who put their hand in the pool. I mean, come on. Yeah, on the screen here on the right there, it says touching paint and then touching kids.
Yeah, that's a great cartoon, by the way. Fantastic cartoon. Yeah. There's some really great cartoons out there right now. Some amazing political cartoons are some of my favorite things in the world. And there's so many talented cartoonists out there. They're doing God's work. I'm just honestly blown away by their talent.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's amazing what kind of creativity the threat of fascism, of losing your country can summon. So here we have. I wanted to switch gears to discuss the Iran war, because that is another fiasco. This was a thing that was supposed to be how many weeks? 4 weeks, was it?
Oh, well, it's supposed to be over I was told it was over on day one. That's what I was told.
On day one, yeah, he said that they were obliterated, and that the whole thing should be over in 72 hours. And then he expanded it to 2 weeks, his favorite, metric. And then that became 4 weeks. And now we're in 4 months. And supposedly there are negotiations going on. I believe that there are negotiations going on. I don't believe his version of events. I absolutely don't believe that that this is what amounts to what he said he wanted, an unconditional surrender. Do you remember that?
Of course, or he would obliterate them, right? Like, again, he would wipe them off the face of the planet. He would end their civilization. What's in the memorandum of understanding? Like, it's every capitulation under the sun to Iran, including control of the Strait of Hormuz, including letting them keep their enriched uranium, including not demanding regime change, including unfreezing their assets and giving them some $300 billion fund from all of the countries they've been droning because we started a war with them without a congressional approval. I mean, the whole fucking thing is a 9-layer dip of our capitulation to a country that is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, state sponsors of terror. We've made our country less safe. We've destabilized the region. We've damaged our bases. We've sent 15 troops home in flag-draped coffins, and 168 Iranian schoolgirls who were murdered, slaughtered by our government in their schools. Israel's trying to take part of Lebanon now, so we have several different, Holocausts happening all at the same time, and all of this because a petulant fucking man baby, didn't like Barack Obama's deal. So he decided that he was going to go one better. So we tore it up in the first season of this shit show, which meant Iran could build more nukes than they could while we were monitoring them. And no, it wasn't perfect, but it was better than it was after Trump tore it up. And then Trump decided he was going to go in and literally blow up the entire deal, the entire region. And for what? A net benefit for one of the worst sponsors of terror in the world, if not the worst sponsor of terror in the world. It's just, it's an unabashed disaster. It's a catastrophe. And he's just going to keep lying to us about what's in the deal because he thinks, like everything else, we'll just move on. We'll accept the bullshit lies and move on to the next outrage. That's what he thinks is going to happen.
I appreciated your listing all of those conditions. And there was only 5, but I believe there's way more than just those 5. Like there's sanctions being lifted.
Yes.
And, and I don't know, did you mention that they have control of the strait as well?
I did. Yes.
And
yes,
that they will charge a toll for that.
Yeah.
So I left this comment here up on the screen. Where it says he is insisting that he's still saying that Iran is begging for it, and they're like, I don't think so. Like he started off this conquest by saying that Iran has no cards, but they apparently have either all of the cards or the one motherfucking card that matters more than all of them. Like I would venture to say they don't even need nukes anymore. Like they've got the Strait of Hormuz, which is like the short of the hairs on the balls of the world,
There's a visual. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, it's very graphic. It's very true. It really is. It's a choke point. No pun intended there. But it's a global choke point. And what happened was he got boxed into a corner where gas prices and everything else were going through the roof. Our oil reserves were depleting. We were in real trouble of having ourselves a 1970s style shortage where people were going to be lining up in gas lines, and the optics of that for not, he doesn't give a shit about for himself, but for the Republicans who are trying to get reelected in November was horrific. And so he boxed himself and the Republican Party into a corner where they had to make all of these concessions to Iran. And honestly, like, it should be the kind of albatross that hangs around his neck and every Republican who emboldened this until we flip the House and the Senate.
I don't know if you remember this last week at the G7. He gave possibly one of the most awful press briefings ever. And that's saying a lot, for the guy who said quiet piggy, but during this press briefing, he said that he didn't want to be what's that guy? Hoover.
Herbert Hoover.
He didn't want to be Herbert Hoover and usher in the Great Depression. So I believe that his sudden about face on this thing, and it was abrupt. He went from saying that we have to make sure we get all of their nuclear dust out of there to nobody cares really if they have dust, and we went from the red line in the sand about the missiles. We have to get rid of all their ballistic missiles to, well, they need some ballistic missiles. Everybody has ballistic missiles, so he made a whole shitload of concessions. I believe that somebody grabbed him, put him in a room. And when I say somebody, I mean like his bosses. I mean like the big oil CEOs and people like that who, could make something happen. And they said, listen, stupid, the reserves are almost at zero. What the fuck are you doing? You want to cause a global depression? That this is not a game. Yeah. And I wish they had done that 4 months ago but I guess they thought they could control him and, they would have more influence than Israel. I don't know. But This thing is a complete and utter disaster. I'm not just saying it because it's Trump. I'm saying, like, if he was our guy and this was all happening, I'd be mortified, right?
I mean, first of all, if he doesn't want to be compared to Herbert Hoover, it's too late. That ship has sailed because he owns the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover.
Oh, that's right.
Before the pandemic, by the way, we were already hemorrhaging manufacturing jobs and other jobs before the pandemic. He also has added, well, he topped his own record because in the first season of this shit show, he added the third largest increase to our national debt and deficit of any president in American history. And then he topped his own record recently by adding more debt and deficit to our country's to our country's economy than himself. So he owns the second and third worst records on those. The first, of course, is Herbert Hoover. So the comparisons, that ship has sailed, buddy. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. You are the worst president since Herbert Hoover on many different metrics. But I think it's very interesting because he tells it himself all the time when he says things out loud that are revelatory to him, like, oh, somebody must have said Herbert Hoover because, oh God, I don't want to be compared to Hoover. He has said that in the past, but there's all these other things where he's like, nobody knows that the word dumb has a B on the end. People don't know this. Why do you like someone told him, oh, you know, the word dumb has a B on the end? And he was like, what? Mind blown, right? It's just, or the word affordability, or groceries. Somebody said the word groceries, and he's like, groceries. Many people don't know the word groceries. It's like, dude, you're out of your effing mind. But again, if he wanted to not be compared to Herbert Hoover, he shouldn't have acted like Herbert Hoover and mismanaged this economy every which way till Sunday, which mismanaged is me being very, very polite. I mean, people forget they had amnesia about the first term. They blamed so much of it just on COVID. But if you're going to blame it on COVID, you have to still blame it on him because of his mismanagement of COVID. But it was already moving in the wrong direction. He took Obama's strong economy and tanked it. He's taking Joe Biden's recovering economy, Joe Biden cleaning up his mess, and he is tanking it. This is what he does. Again, he has managed to bankrupt casinos, friends. You know how hard it is to bankrupt casinos?
Yeah.
Literally, the job of casinos is to make money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he is really good at not making money or losing money. I have another clip. This was about, this had to do with gas prices. Because you mentioned how about how he's screwing up the economy, and he believes that by now, since gas prices have fallen since he announced this memorandum of understanding, since oil prices have fallen, he believes that gas prices should be around $2.25 a gallon.
Earlier today, you instructed your Department of Justice to do an investigation for oil companies that you said gas prices were not coming down quick enough.
That's right.
You are concerned that there is price gouging going on, taking advantage of the crisis, sir. Can you elaborate on that?
So it's ExxonMobil, it's Chevron, it's Shell, it's BP, it's a lot of them. The gasoline or the oil prices have come down so much, and we are not seeing anything at the pump by comparison to what it should be. We should be, in my opinion, at $2.25 right now at the pump. And we're higher than that. And we are doing a big investigation on it. Yeah, they're not reducing the prices commensurate with what's happening. Look.
I mean,
Joe, your face.
I mean, it's this look at some mystical, magical underground pizza parlor basement. You have a vandal who's amphibious, apparently, who has an unlimited supply of fertilizer and the world's strongest knife, hanging out with a bunch of evil oil executives who have managed to plot against the American people despite Donald Trump's success with bringing oil prices down. They're all meeting in this basement, conspiring to keep gas prices high and to destroy the reflecting pool. I mean, it's just friggin' ludicrous. Dude, you are the problem. The problem is you. You're the problem with the reflecting pool. You are the reason gas prices are not coming down. By the way, like I said, prices don't like to come down. Industries don't like to lower their prices. When people get used to paying a certain price, they keep it high. Maybe they'll lower it a little bit, but generally speaking, they stay up there. I'm not saying gas is going to perpetually be $5 and $6 a gallon, but then again, I also don't see them having a strong appetite for it. But you're going to investigate them. Dude, investigate yourself, because you are the problem. You are the source of all of this. You are.
I agree. There does need to be an investigation, because I'm old enough to remember when he told big oil executives in that meeting that, hey, give me $1 billion and I'll make sure you guys get what you need to get rich. I remember that shit. So that was definitely the quid pro quo. So this bullshit he's saying, oh, I'm going to investigate. Get the fuck out of here, because gas prices were just barely around $3.11 before he launched this ludicrous war. So don't try to play it off like your economy was all that $2.25. It was never at $2.25. It was always hovering around $3. And that, a lot of it had to do with his tariffs.
Yep.
So he's heaping one problem on top of another, and then blaming that shit on other people. And what the thing that drives me nuts is that he doesn't take responsibility. He's always blaming it on someone else. And the thing that really burned me up today, I told you about this earlier, during that same press briefing, somebody asked him about the bombing of the girls' school in Iran. And I thought I already hated him as much as you can possibly hate a human being. It surpassed that already. Let me show that clip.
Can I ask you one other question? Have you seen the report into the Minhad school attack, sir? And could you tell us?
I have not seen it, no.
Why not?
At some point, well, I have to wait for it to be complete. I don't know that they're ever going to solve that problem. I mean, you could ask Pete, but I don't know that they're going to say it was one of our missiles. Pete, I don't know that they're ever going to solve that problem in terms of whose fault was it, because there were missiles flying all over the place.
So you won't accept
and it's horrible what happened, but there were missiles flying all over the place. And somebody said it was our missile. Well, maybe it wasn't our missile, but I've seen nothing to lead me to believe it was. There were plenty of missiles being flown by other people.
I mean, first of all, just to put this out there, as recently as the other day, he said, mistakes happen in war. Things happen in war. It's war. Things happen about this very issue. So he's already more than acknowledged culpability here, but he also said in the beginning of this that they were going to have an investigation, that they'd have the findings back from the investigation in 2 weeks. Of course they would. But if we are actually dumb enough to believe, if anybody on the planet is dumb enough to believe that the United States military does not know what its missiles hit, when we're talking about the most tactical, technical, tight, impressive military basically on the planet, not once, but twice. We double tapped that strike, by the way. They were targeted. You're telling me that nobody knows that there were all these missiles flying, that nobody could go in there and say, oh, this was a Tomahawk versus this was something the Iranians have? It's just on its face. It's fucking ridiculous and it's disgusting. And by the way, for Pete Hegseth, and anybody else in that room who knows better, Pete Hegseth knows damn well. He knows damn well, he knew it the second it fucking happened, that it was us. For him to sit there and play stupid, I want the Hague. I want them all to rot in a fucking prison cell for eternity. This was murder. They murdered those children in their schools. We did that. The United States of America committed war crimes, multiple war crimes. 168 school children never came home because of us and our mistakes, because this school was adjacent to what do you call it? A base, an Iranian base, and an old satellite footage made them think that this school was part of the base. At one time it was. So we mistakenly bombed them once, then we double tapped them, which we are notorious for doing now. We did that with the people in the fishing boats. We did that with the Iranian boat where we left them to die. It is disgusting. It is grotesque. And here's again what he's going to do, Brooklyn. What he's going to do is put out this bullshit lie. This nobody believes. They're not going to follow up on it. He's going to push it off, and he's going to expect, like everything else, that people are going to move on. There are hundreds and hundreds of, if not thousands, of Iranians who do not have their children, their loved ones, their family members anymore because of something we did. And we need to own this. We owe them that much at least. And that motherfucker is sitting there pretending like we don't know that we did it. It's beyond reprehensible. It's grotesque. It's sadistic. It's sociopathic. It breaks my heart that anybody thought that this person deserved to be in a position where we could slaughter children. I can't.
Yeah, he can't figure out whose multi-million-dollar missiles struck that school, but he can definitely tell you that vandals attacked that pool, overnight. And he's been so focused on the height or length or width of his stupid ass pool, and not focused on ascertaining whose missiles it was. Everybody knows who it was, whose missiles it was. Folks, drop it in the comments. Let us know if you agree with Joe that there should be Hague. There should be some Hague hearings, and who are your top 3 who should be prosecuted in the Hague? Let's continue. Let's move this along. I want to talk about the housing bill that was supposed to be signed by Trump today. And so this was a bipartisan deal. It was a very big deal. It was like the first time Republicans could ever take credit for doing something good to help the American people. And it was bipartisan. This was something that was going to increase the number of houses and lower housing prices, and there's a whole shitload of things. Help me out here, Joe, if you can remember some of the other things that the 21st Century Road to Housing Act was supposed to do. But Donald Trump pulled the rug out from under. Republicans were literally having a victory lap. They were congratulating themselves, and they were all like, yeah, we're about to this is about to be signed by the president. I'm sorry, what's that? Trump canceled it. He said he's not going to sign it unless they pass the SAVE Act, or Save America Act, which is that bullshit bill. It's basically a bill that would eliminate drop boxes for ballots. It would require people to have to present a passport and a birth certificate, as opposed to just your driver's license or ID that you already have, military ID, student ID, shit like that. It would be null and void. It would require that states submit their voter rolls so that they could, arbitrarily kick people off the voter rolls and claim that these are not real people when they in actuality are. But who can tell if you give up your rolls to a corrupt federal government? So that's the deal. He's holding hostage this bill that could potentially help millions of Americans buy their first home. What's your take?
we have a housing crisis. There's no mistaking that, right? Like, we know that. And this bill they've been working on this for years. And it was sponsored by Tim Scott, who is one of Trump's chief fellators and taint suppers.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that guy, come on. He's like,
No shame.
he's not even spine adjacent at this point. But like you said, this was bipartisan. This shit doesn't land on Trump's desk every day. This Congress does not work together often. But on this issue, because Republicans know they need a lifeline and they need to win, they need to go to the people and say, hey, we did something good for you, because they got nothing right now. They have nothing but broken promises. Here's another one. And to your point, Donald Trump knows that he is holding hostage something the Republicans and Democrats were counting as a win, because it actually did something for the American people. Why? Two things. He doesn't give a shit about the American people. He doesn't even pretend to give a shit about the American people, because he knows he's not legally going to be on another ballot ever again, and he doesn't give a fuck what people think of him anymore, so he doesn't even pretend. Number two, because if he loses the House alone, let alone the House and the Senate, this shit is existential for him. So he would rather keep people from being able to afford a home. He would rather, keep handing, these houses to companies and investors instead of the American people. He would rather hurt the American people if it means he can meddle in the election to protect himself. That's it. His priorities are very plain. They're very clear. And the American people are not stupid. A lot of them have taken a little longer than most sane people, or people with a single firing synapse for that matter, to figure out that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about them. But if this doesn't scream that he doesn't give a shit about them, I don't know what does. His own party sponsored the bill. His own party, his own mouthpiece, Carolyn Leavitt, was touting this bill as recently as yesterday. And he will hold government hostage. By the way, only has 10 days to not do anything. He's probably going to have to veto it. So he's going to have to own that like another albatross around his neck.
Wow.
But he would rather hurt the American people, hurt his own voters, hurt his own party, if it means that he can force his party into preventing people from voting. That's it, because it is existential for him. And we now know, we knew this already, it's not groundbreaking, but according to Jonathan Swan and Maggie Haberman, we can talk about that all day long, that the only reason he ran for office in 24 was to stay out of jail. So he knows what's right. We knew that. It's not groundbreaking. But he knows what's on the other side is a potential impeachment and removal from office. He's not got a lot of friends on the Senate side anymore. He went in there screaming at Bill Cassidy today, screaming at Rand Paul today, screaming at all the Republicans. He doesn't have a lot of friends. So this is existential. But I just think the bottom line is that he doesn't give a shit about Americans, and nobody can even make the case that he's trying to pretend he does.
So I think it's interesting that you believe that if we flip the House and the Senate, that he would end up convicted. Because, I mean, look, there have been signs. There have been signs as recently as today that some Republicans are at least willing to act as though they have a spine and that they have, their cojones or whatever. Like Bill Cassidy apparently I don't know if you saw this, he got into a tiff and I think it was characterized as a shouting match in which he used some expletives. Yeah. And even Tom Tillis is out there, bucking Trump on the foolish way he's handling the reflecting pool. Yeah. So there are signs, but those two guys are on their way out. I am not sure that what's left is you have Mitch McConnell, who's also, he's if he makes it to the end of his term, it will be and quite an achievement in and of itself. And you have a whole lot of other Republicans that, they've already made their decision, I believe. I could be wrong. If there's a new calculus by election day, you might be right. I would like to know from our viewers here, what do you guys think? What's the likelihood that Donald Trump, if we flip the House and the Senate, What's the likelihood that he gets impeached and convicted? Let us know what you think in the comments. Let's move this right along to the next topic, which is the weaponization of the DOJ for a war on journalists. Trump has been actively plotting to purge the Department of Justice to use it as a personal weapon against independent press members. This plan aims to criminalize investigative reporting, representing the single greatest threat to the First Amendment in modern history. Most recently, his Department of Justice was going to subpoena reported from the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, and then they withdrew those subpoenas. What's your take on this whole weaponization thing? Are we is that one of the warning signs? Are we in trouble? What do you think, Joe?
I mean, that is a hallmark of fascism, right? Like, the free press is the enemy of an authoritarian. I mean, this is the model we've seen all over the world. I mean, look at North Korea, look at China, look at Hungary before this election, look at Russia, even Turkey. This is what they do because there's lots of reasons, right? First of all, shining a light on their corruption and their abuses of power and their inability to actually do anything to help the people is bad for them. It's bad for business, but also just informing people. Just having an educated public is really bad because it gives people autonomy and it gives them a sense of agency and it gives them a sense of empowerment because they are informed, because they're not kept in the dark. And when they are not kept in the dark, they can organize and they can vote and they can educate and they can, relational organize with each other by illuminating facts for other people. I mean, the whole thing is bad for a fascist to have a free press. And we've seen so many persistent attacks on our First Amendment as far as it pertains to journalists, but also critics of him just in general, from Stephen Colbert to Jimmy Kimmel, to creators who they've challenged and now have a database that they're building on the White House government website.
Saw that.
All of this. The saying goes, it's what still technically on the masthead terrorist that Mayor told me yesterday of the Washington Post, that democracy dies in darkness. And it's not hyperbolic to say that. It's absolutely the truth. And so that's why, he is so dead set on intimidating journalists and scaring journalists and threatening journalists. And we've seen capitulations from the likes of CBS, et cetera. Sinclair Media is now buying up papers like the Baltimore Sun. Their journalists are leaving in droves now because it's basically like having Barry Weiss at the Baltimore Sun. This is dangerous. It's terrifying. Fascism is not coming to America. It is here. So for the moment, we have to use the agency and the autonomy that we have in the communities that we have, in the ways that we have to connect to each other, like your show, like our shows, like new media, content creators, social media platforms that are still letting us at least get our word out there. Because again, this is existential for him. Because if we know what he's doing, if there's an accountability of what he's doing, then there will be consequences, hopefully, from the American people to put checks and guardrails on this, this regime.
Folks, this is why Jo is one of my favorite guests on the show. She is brilliant. Anytime she opens her mouth, she says wonderful, amazing, and so intelligent things. And you were right on the money with everything you said there. I wanted to add that even the View, which I consider like, light fare, it's nothing that controversial, but they do mix it up there and they talk about some serious stuff, and they put out an ad asking people to help them fight back against Trump's FCC when he's trying to use the FCC as a weapon to threaten not to renew people stations' licenses, which is, come on, dude. Like, can you not focus on the matters at hand, you know, at making life affordable and getting our military out of Iran and staying out. Can you focus on that shit? Can you undo the stupid tariffs that you put? Can you stop being an asshole and just do your own job and stop being so fucking petty? Right. So I like the fact that a show like The View that, you know, is, even though it's light fare, they're like, we're going to push back. I like that. You know, that's what it's going to take. It's not, you know, it doesn't happen all at once. It's not all at once. Everybody starts pushing back, but you have a few people, a few choice people who like decide, you know what, I'm standing up, and then other people join them, and before you know it, your dictator, your fascist or whatever, he backs down. They always back down.
That's so true. I mean, we've seen this with him in particular, time after time after time. Once he's really pushed back on, he runs away like a scared little girl. But let's not forget here some of the original sin in how we got here to Brendan Carr and Donald Trump threatening the likes of The View, because let's not kid ourselves. This is very petulant and personal. He's going after the people who've criticized him over the years. Remember, Rosie O'Donnell was one of the original hosts of The View, and we all remember that feud. And still, it's still going to this day. So he has a personal bone to pick with that show, and it's disgusting because we're living in his retribution. But one of the original sins for how we got here was ABC capitulating when it came to Stephanopoulos. Stephanopoulos said something that was well within the boundary of what was he could legally say, which was that Donald Trump was found to be an adjudicated rapist, which is absolutely true. That is exactly what the judge said. He said that it did not reach the legal definition of rape, partially because, and this is grotesque, a finger was used and not a penis. This is where we're at. We're really splitting hairs on what fucking rape is. But Stephanopoulos said that to Nancy Mace, who is a whole other conversation in and of itself. That chick is fucking nuts. Perpetual fifth place finisher. The Riley Gaines of Republican politics. Great job, Nancy. But if ABC hadn't done that, if they hadn't broken the seal by capitulating, by violating Timothy Snyder's #1 rule on tyranny, is do not obey in advance. Do not. ABC was like, yes, sir, may I have another. And Donald Trump has consistently come back for more, because that's what bullies do. If you give them your fucking lunch money once, they're going to come back for your lunch money, and then eventually they're going to come back for your fucking bike. But ABC has learned the hard way, just like some MAGA idiots, that you cannot capitulate. You cannot support this. You cannot give him what he wants. And at least now they're standing up for their own. They've done it with Kimmel a couple of times, and they're standing up for The View. And I think that that's good. I hate the fact that they put us here, but nonetheless, we need everybody to stand up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have mixed feelings because, you're 100% right about the whole thing with Stephanopoulos. I remember being pissed off with them because I was like, but you're ABC.
Yeah.
You know, in my brain, like I go back to, like, I'm old school. So I remember when like ABC was like one of the big 3 TV stations. It was ABC, CBS, and NBC, right?
Yeah.
Before we had all this, you know, splintering off with cable TV. I was like, wow, what channel is bigger than ABC and NBC, you know? And they're just like, they just bent the knee, and it was very disappointing. But I feel the same way about Trump supporters who are like, oh man, you know what? I didn't vote for this. Actually, yes, you did. And you voted like so many times for it. And now because it's affecting you, because the leopard is eating your face, now you got a problem with it. So, you know, I feel like you stupid motherfuckers, you got us in this mess in the first place. But we got to make some space for them. We have to make some space for them, because ultimately, if they discovered the error of their ways after the damage is done, maybe they can help, you know, reverse course, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, I have been gracious with people in my life. There's some lines, some red lines here. All I really want them to do is just not vote for Republicans for a hot minute. Just don't vote. Like, you don't have to vote for a Democrat. I'm not asking you to cast a ballot for somebody you just fucking
Stay
hate.
home.
Just stay home. Just stay home. Let the grown-ups, the ones who didn't need to keep sticking their forks in the electric socket over and over and over again because we understood how fucking electricity works. Let us run shit for a second and just sit back. Drink your Mountain Lightning. Like, put your sunglasses on backwards. Go fondle your truck nuts. Whatever it is that strikes your fancy, go do that for a while and let the grown-ups run the show for a minute, because you guys, you made a fucking mess. Okay. And like, when I was a waitress and families would come in and then the little kids would be eating Cheerios or the Puffs, and you knew that shit was going everywhere, and you're like, oh God, when this table leaves, I'm going to have this disaster of a mess. MAGA did that. They did that to America. Okay. And now our bus boys got to come in, and we got to come in with some, brooms and dustpans and clean this shit up. But it is not impossible to do it. As long as we get the toddlers to go home to bedtime and nap time, and the grown-ups are going to take over, because my God, what a mess that they've made. What a mess.
Folks, if you think there's some room to be made for, MAGA with regrets, let us know in the comments. And we're going to keep this thing moving. With last night, there was a major New York City political earthquake where Mayor Mamdani put his weight behind 3 candidates, and all 3, not just one, not just 2, but all 3 of them succeeded. They all won. And people are, this was alarming to both the Democratic establishment as well as to Republicans, because Republicans are like, oh no, communism.
Yeah.
And the Democratic establishment, is concerned for different reasons. Possibly because, like a guy like Dan Goldman, he lost to Brad Lander
by a lot.
And yeah, it wasn't close. And Adriano Espaillat, who was actually considered somewhat progressive, was defeated by Daria Liza Avila Chevalier, and Claire Valdez defeated the Brooklyn borough president. So, all 3 of them had solid victories. And what's your take on yesterday's New York City primary results?
Well, there's a lot of takeaways, some of which really don't translate to general elections in swing districts outside of blue cities. They just don't. Independents don't have an appetite for democratic socialism. 2/3 of independents say that they are opposed to it. You attach those words to, candidate to somebody in swing districts here in New Jersey, for instance, and people kind of do this. So it works in New York City, clearly. Mamdani is very, very popular. He is actually delivering on a lot of the promises he made. New Yorkers are super excited about that. New Yorkers are having a bit of a renaissance. So for New York, this makes a lot of sense to me, and it's a popular platform to have, but also you have the anti-Israel, anti-AIPAC component here in politics, particularly in New York. Again, Dan Goldman has been very vocal in his support for the Israeli people, if not necessarily the Israeli government, but it was distasteful to the New York electorate, right? So Dan Goldman, this was a defining feature there, and a defining element of that election. Again, you take that component of this election and you try and apply that across the board nationally, and it doesn't hold up. But what I will say is a takeaway from this election, also in Maryland, but primarily in New York, that should be a wake-up call for Democrats across the country, is that there is a thirst and a hunger for something new, for new energy, for new voices, for new perspectives. The establishment, we are very, 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 very unpopular, almost as unpopular as Republicans. The Democratic Party should be running like circles on every ballot. Harry Enton will tell you that is not the case. 5-point lead, really, when they were up against all these gerrymanders, that's not a lot. And that's partly because the establishment has lost the base. They've lost the voters. They've lost the Democrats. They don't inspire. They aren't messaging right. They aren't answering questions about what they'll actually do for their constituents in the way that a Democratic socialist like Mamdani does, right? So that infusion of excitement, it comes from a candidate telling the voter, I want to do something different. And I don't want to just talk about how I'm anti-Trump, which I talk about all the time, but I'm not running for Congress or for Senate. I want to tell you how I'm going to work for you, because voters right now don't believe either party is working for them. They don't believe government is working for them. They don't believe government is working for anybody but the billionaires and the establishment class. So what all Democrats should be doing right now is looking around and saying, how can I retool my messaging so that the voters feel like I actually care and I'm actually going to deliver. Instead of just saying Trump bad, Republicans bad, I want to say to you, I want to offer universal pre-K. I want to offer, I want to work on getting you health care, the things that Americans want, which right now is a cost of living issue. That's what's going to determine the winners and losers, is who makes the better case to the American people that they see the cost of living issue and that they have a plan to address it and to fix it. That's it. And so there's a lot of different takeaways coming out of New York last night, but the number one thing that translates to every race in this country is that the Democrats need to understand that people want a change. They want new energy, they want new perspectives, and they want to be heard and seen, and they want to know that government is actually interested in working for them. That's it.
Yeah. That was so well said. That was perfect. And I would just add to that. I think that I think voters, even though I do often accuse so many voters of being complete idiot morons, voters can't be fooled in terms of authenticity. They can tell if you are pretending. They can tell if you're just using the words that they think you want to hear. Because those are the words that the other guy, your opponent, is using. They can tell if you actually mean it, or if you're just you're just mouthing some platitudes to get their vote. So those are some interesting points you made. I hope that the Democratic Party as a whole hears. I hope they're listening, and I hope they took notes. Because that's important. If we are going to move forward with or without, saying Trump bad, you're going to have to attune your hearing better to what voters want to hear, what voters want. And that includes not just the base, and it's not just the center, but it's everybody. It's all Americans. They're all about the affordability thing. And that's one reason why Mamdani won the way he did, was because he set up camp, right? he pitched a tent in affordability town. He's like, this is where I live. That's it. And no matter what they threw at him, they try to ask him about, what about Israel? Affordability. Oh, what about global warming? Affordability. What about your mother's shoes? Affordability.
It's not rocket science, right? It's the economy, stupid. I mean, it's a tale as old as time. And don't get fancy. Don't try and be tricky. The American people, they know what they feel. You can't make them feel something they don't feel. You can't make them feel like things are going better when their pocketbooks are telling them otherwise. I said this yesterday on my show with Tara, when my favorite conditioner went from $9 to $14 in the blink of an eye. It's the drugstore conditioner. It's just Pantene. The Americans are like, well, why the fuck am I paying $14 for conditioner? That was $9, which was already a lot. They can't. You don't have to do fancy blah 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 polling and all that exit polls. I don't give a shit. Keep it real. Talk to the people where they are, like he did. And like you said, everything ties back. everything, whether it is global warming, whether it is what's happening in Gaza, whether it is Donald Trump, whether it is, the cost of a pair of shoes. It all goes back to cost of living, affordability. That is what is going to drive the outcomes of this election in the Democrats' favor, because Republicans don't have plans for any of that because they don't care.
Mama AG made an interesting comment here. Term limits must be worked into future legislation.
Yeah. I mean,
that is a whole nother discussion that I wish I could get into, but I've already gone past my goal of
sorry.
No. I couldn't. There's no way I was going to stop this. I love these discussions. So I thank you for that. I wanted to know if you have heard about the name Donald as it pertains to babies. Babies, yes.
No.
Oh, okay. So I got a little fun fact for you, and that is that the name Donald is now the least popular name for babies in the United States. It is at the bottomest. Back in 2015, before MAGA, it was in the top 500. And then by 2020, it fell to the top 1,000. And now it is the lowest ranked name of all. People are just not naming their kid Donald anymore. It says here, the Trump effect has led to a total cultural rejection of the figure's identifiers. Parents are choosing virtually any other name to avoid the association with the current chaos.
I mean, it's not surprising. Like, I've known a few Dons in my life. Like, well, Don Johnson exists, Don Rickles exists. I had a neighbor named Don who bred racing horses and flew a little Cessna, which was very cool because we got to go to racetrack and in his airplane. He was actually a very nice guy. But it's also a fairly antiquated name. But could you imagine a little Donald running around right now, like a parent having to say, my son's name is Toddler. Their toddler's name is Donald. Like, you might as well just name them stupid shithead. Like the scene in The Jerk where he's like, don't name that dog Hero, name him Shithead, because the dog, Steve Martin, thinks he's trying to alert them to a fire and then shut the whole hotel, and the dog's not doing it. It's just a fucking stupid barky dog. I mean, honestly, like, you're naming your kid Donald. There are a few ways faster to put a label on their head in perpetuity that they're a loser. Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. Plus, it's just kind of no offense to any good Dons out there or Donalds out there. Donald Duck is exceptional. I'm a big fan. All the ducks, Huey, Dewey, Louie, Daisy. But yeah, can you imagine naming your kid Donald? Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine at some point the name Adolf might have been popular, and then that guy came along.
Yeah. You know what? If my kid's name was Donald, I would change it.
Wow.
Yeah. I would change it to Jalen. I would change it to...
Hey, that's a good one.
By the way, did you see... Speaking of Mamdani, real quick, did you see his expert level trolling where he posted Brunson's speech where Brunson says, people are going to question you. People are going to, they're going to talk at you. They're going to say all sorts of things about you. And you shut them down by basically delivering. Mamdani posted that today as a way of saying, you doubted me, I'm 3 for 3. Look, I mean, he's shade game.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That guy is so savvy in terms of social media, man. I feel like, he can't run for president, can he? He wasn't born here.
No, but even Trump said today that there's another thing to speak to his expertise and his strategy and his intelligence. He played Donald Trump. He managed to woo him, and Trump called him handsome today. He said he liked him today.
I have that. Hang on. There's something happening with Trump.
Yeah.
Like he's loving on these handsome men.
Dementia. No filter.
Is it
He's losing his ability to filter.
Democrats have a problem on their hands now that Obama and Mamdani, they're true leaders. Neither of them can run for president in 28.
Well, Mamdani was here, as you know, twice. And he's a very nice guy. He's a charming guy, good-looking guy. We talk, but you can't raise taxes on people when you force them to leave your state or your city, and they're leaving and they're going to Florida. Most of them are going down to Palm Beach and Miami.
Not true, by the way, but also
no.
But also, yeah, I mean, the expert chess level, Mamdani figured it out. He didn't slather him with praise. But he gave him the, street credit of going to visit him and making his own victories seem shared by Donald Trump. That's not stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to play nice with Hitler at all, but if you have to exist, that's the way to do it. Don't big Gretch this shit. Don't bend the knee. Figure it out. Play him. He's not smart. He's stupid. He's very easy to manipulate.
Yeah, and Mamdani is just so charismatic. I think he really, really did charm the pants off of. I'm sorry. Sorry for that visual.
Especially since he's been farting so much on camera lately. It's just so disgusting. He's so disgusting.
Boy.
So disgusting. He's just disgusting. Yeah, he's dying. He's dying. He's dying. He's dying. Did you see his hand today? He is fucking dying. Okay? Like, he was falling asleep while Ruta was talking to him in the middle of the freaking Oval Office. He is not well. He is not long for this world. I'm not saying that I'm trying to expedite his exit from this earthly rock of ours. I'm just looking at something with eyes and ears, listening with ears, looking with eyes. He is not well. He's not well.
Oh, also, Ted Lieu, actually, I don't know if you saw this. Ted Lieu made a statement earlier today, and he said that that some medication was given out to one American, who was 79 years old, and he was high-ranking person, and that this medication is only given out in special instances, and the special instances is there's a phrase they use for people that are dying. I forget what, but he said we need to know, is the president dying?
I didn't see that. That is fascinating to me.
I'll find the clip and I'll shoot it over to you.
Yeah.
But
I mean, again, I will just say this. I've said this lots of times. I'm never going to reveal who told me, but I will say that someone I know who is privy to Donald Trump's health via a very strange coincidence back in 2017 was summoned into the Oval Office and had a discussion with Donald Trump off the record about Donald Trump's heart condition. And that was a long time ago. So
we know he's had strokes since then because of the droopy mouth thing, right?
I mean, it's
and
hard
the swinging the leg, and sometimes he smacks it before he.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite. He does that all the time. He's like, "Okay, the leg did it." Like, he's like, "Good job, leg. You didn't fail me on that one." Like, it's so freaking weird. Like, he's having a little pep talk with his body, with his anatomy. It's bizarre.
I always say, "Giddy up" when he does that. Giddy up. Slaps the leg. All right, Joe. Thank you so much for. Thank you for joining me here on the Defiant Weekly. It is always a pleasure to have you here. I hope I can have you back at some point.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I will see you tomorrow on the Joe and BDD show. I will be in my office, not by my tomatoes, which are thriving. And these are zinnias, which I did not realize I planted in way too small a pot. So we're just gonna see how that turns out. But I'll be back at the office tomorrow. Kids are here, so I wanted to do this one from home. And thank you for having me as usual.
It is a pleasure. Just do me a favor, hang tight while I sign off, and I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
And folks, thank you for joining me once again for a great informative episode of the Defiant Weekly. I'm your host, Majid Padelan, aka BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad Defiant. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys here next week, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace. incredible person, incredible human being.
Yes,
We're famous. Yes.